Hi, I'm Shira from Studio 70. Today we're going to be talking about the letters, feathers, and photos of Chris Watts. After combing through 2,000 pages of information, we found some bizarre information, as in Chris Watts' underwear. What is that about? Let's turn it over to Eju, and he's going to give us some more of the information.
Thanks, Rock. And not all these Chris Watts letters were all lovey-dovey. There was a couple that were really critical of him. And in addition to that, he received a letter from his employer stating that his services would no longer be required. And on top of that, he actually received a letter with some feathers in it. But more on that, we turn it over to Chirac.
Now, one of the letters Chris Watts received had 4 feathers in it. The sender stated that she never saw the pure white feathers before. It was the first time she seen these feathers, and she believed it was the symbolic wings of heaven that represented Shanann and her kids. And she hoped that Chris would find their souls in them.
In addition to all these letters, Chris received photos of these women as well, like these right here. And let me tell you, there's more to the story in terms of all these pages. What we found something about Chris's underwear and a few other things that even if you've been following this case all along, you might have missed, and there might be something new you might find. So hang with us. We're gonna go in the studio and talk all about it. Okay, Studio Crime family, question time. Let's see how well you know the Chris Watts case. Now this is a medium complexity question. Here we go. The morning that Chris Watts' family disappeared, at survey 319, who was the last employee to show up? Was it Melissa? Was it Chad? Or was it Troy? Stick to the end and we'll give the answer. Hey everyone, welcome back.
Guys.
We are in the studio from location to talk about this episode coming up called Redacted Doc Shock of the Chris Watts case. But before we do any of that,
Yes, it's for education and entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research and be kind to others, friends,
yes,
family.
very much so. Thank you. And to introduce myself, my name is on my hat, as you.
Oh, nice.
And this is
Chirac.
And we are Studio 70. We do true crime. We dig into cases. And today is going to be a good one. It's another Chris Watts case. As you guys heard from the intro, got some background. Just going to go a little bit deeper and cover this. So we're going to get right into it. And we were just talking about this before we started recording. Man, I think this picture was taken of Chris Watts right after like he admitted to everything. And they were taking pictures of his back, of his tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever think this man isn't able to do what he's able to do, just look at that intense face. It is really freaky.
It's kind of scaring me.
It's really scary, okay? For sure. So just keep that in mind. It's kind of, I did that purposely because as you hear about all these lovey-dovey notes that was sent to him, and for those who are deep fans of Chris Watts, you probably are going to be familiar with some of the things, but I'm hoping that a few items will be new to you. So hang in there. So really quickly, we're going to go quick. We do a crime board for all our cases that we cover, and same thing for the Watts case. Anything that's in green is what it's factually that we know it happened. Question marks like NK is she accomplice. Things are understood, but if sometimes we have a community vote that you guys go out in our community, we have a poll, you guys vote, and then we add that to this. So we do this together. We kind of do our own crime board, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
And just some shout outs. We have a super chat shout out to Jen H. In one of the conversations we had, I think, about the Peterson case. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that shout out. Yeah. And thank you. You were very active and provide some great insights to that. Oh, and by the way, I did add some comments about the strawberry shortcake juror for those who are interested in that. Very knowledgeable.
Thanks, Jen.
So really quickly, let's go through some of the things that we mentioned before. So this is about letters, feathers, and photos, and oh my, and a whole bunch more. So yeah, and we'll get to those. We kind of mentioned it in the beginning, but really quickly, yes, there's a lot of lovey-dovey notes to Chris, some professing that he was innocent, or, really, a lot of them are really, really, asking, can you please, write to me? I'll write to you every day. Call me if you can. You are so cute. It's just disgusting. I don't want to spend much time on it because I'm just going to lose my cookies, Cheryl. But there was a couple that
Yeah,
were
that was
like
not so
this
good.
one. I won't read what it says. You guys can see it on the screen. In fact, let me just see if I can blow that up bigger so you guys can see that. Pardon me. Yeah, there you go. There, and I can see a little bit more bigger. You can see what it says about Chris, okay? And, and as I mentioned also too in the beginning, he got this wonderful informative letter from Anadarko that the purpose of the letter to inform you that your employment relationship with Anadarko
August
Petroleum
15,
Corporation
2018 has been
terminated
terminated.
effectively August 15, 2018. Yeah, that's a good one.
Just to confirm.
And then just to go a little bit deeper into this whole thing, if you guys haven't known about this, this letter was like about 8 pages. It was a little difficult to read because of the handwriting, the cursive. Obviously, we could read cursive, but it wasn't like this. Like what you see on the screen is very neat, cursive. The whole letter is more slanted and together. It was just more confusing to read. But Shirok, do you want to say it, or do you want me to kind of go through and you can fill in the gaps?
Yeah, you can just say it.
Okay, so really quickly, bottom line is, for why I understand, why I could read, why I can decipher, is that this woman goes out and she finds feathers, but she's never found really pure white feathers. And after hearing about this whole, the murder of this family, the next day or soon after, she found one white feather, then another, and another pure white. Never seen it before since, and she thought it just looked like angel feathers or wings coming down from heaven, and basically just put this all together and sent it to Chris Watts. So that's the gist of it. I'm giving you guys the short version of it all. So we covered that in the beginning. Just want to show you a little bit more detail in terms of that. And then of course, Chris got sent, I believe it was in 2 languages, English and Spanish, but this religious publications, so he was getting, and not just this formal documentation about the scriptures and prayer and all that. He was also getting a lot of letters, or some letters, as far as we know, about people from different ministries kind of reaching out to him and just, they're concerned about his soul, his well being in a spiritual sense. So they reached out to him.
Yes.
Yeah. So the other thing I'll mention about the letters is, I think, some of them were like really like, hey, we're really trying to get on the focus on the person, like, please write me, please call me.
Yes.
But what I noticed, and I didn't read, I'll be honest, I didn't read all of them. I probably read maybe 2/3, a good, at least over half.
Yeah.
And Shirok, what I got from these letters too is people are pouring out themselves. Like it just wasn't about, which I found odd. It wasn't like, Chris, how are you feeling? I can relate to you. There was some of that, but there's also like, oh yeah, and oh, I had somebody who did this, or oh, in my life, this is what happened. It was almost like they were relieving themselves of their issues onto Chris, which I found really bizarre. Maybe they're trying to empathize, but the story didn't. The stories that they shared didn't mesh up with that.
Well, I read some as well, and the ones I read, one person was like incarcerated, so I guess they was trying to give Chris some advice about the media, and they talked a lot about the media and Chris and what to do and not to do. So they was just trying to give him a little bit of heads up of what's going to happen because I've been incarcerated. So that's one thing I realized. People that are incarcerated wrote him as well. I actually seen somewhere high school students was writing him. I'm like, that's not even age group. That part right there, it just was, it baffled me because I'm like, okay, you in high school. I think you should probably be writing about.
And didn't you
Yeah.
say something about somebody was sending him money or something like that?
Yes, and also people was sending him money as well, but they put it like in more in not like cash because you can't receive cash.
Yeah.
They're more like a common that whatever they do, they send money.
Uh,
And it's online. You can actually send money
I
to
don't.
anyone.
I
Long
don't
as you
go
have the
there.
proper information, you can send the money. So he's getting money as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's. I mean, and this is just a snapshot of what's going on at the time. I'm sure there's a lot since then. I'm sure, but I just found it really interesting. I don't know it seemed like there's some people that had their own issues and they were just confiding, and it was just weird. But in addition to all these letters, as we mentioned, there's a lot
Photos.
of. And one of them says, I don't want to get into it, but one of them is like was saying, "Oh, I'm just, a sister in Christ," and and then you see a picture of her. It's like, okay, you don't. Why are you sending? If you want to be platonic and friendly and be spiritual, you don't need to send your picture. Why does it matter what Chris thinks you look like? I don't want to get into it all. You get what I'm saying, Shrock? It's like you really want him to connect with you
because
visually,
yeah.
because otherwise it doesn't matter if you
And
if you
with
don't have
the
ulterior
bathing
motives.
suit, and I don't get
Oh, that one, the Russia, yeah. That's don't get me started.
Yeah.
I want to focus on. So the next few things, if you're a Watts, into this case, meaning you're interested and you've been covering it for a long time, these next couple of things are not going to be a surprise to you. But let's go deeper, and then we're going to get to Chris's underwear and all that stuff too. So, this was a woman who basically said that she met Chris, and here I'll read some of it. She was asked to describe, and she said Watts was being aggressive. I guess they had some, interactions, sexual in nature, and Amanda said she was humiliated. It was weird that Watts attempted to, I'm not gonna say what he tried to do, but he tried to do some sexual stuff. You guys can see it on the screen. I don't want to repeat some disgusting stuff. Amanda said Watts also tried to pull her hair and put his arms around her neck. She described it as a fantasy. I blocked out the word you can't see on YouTube. She explained, and the way what Chris was doing. Amanda said Nicole Atkinson was her manager at Supercuts in 2013 and also was Shanann's best friend. Amanda said she knew Nicole's Facebook page and about Shanann's missing. What's really interesting here is that she says, was she confident she could testify that it was Watts? She said she was 99% sure it was him. She was not able to point him out in any crowd, but sure it was Watts. It just seemed kind of weird. Like, why would you point out it's 90%? It's either yes, it's definitely him. It's almost like she left that 1% to say, well, maybe it could have been somebody else. And not only that, if you're that close where the neighbor, Nicole, Atkinson, all this stuff, the whole thing seems suspicious to me. And I'll be honest with you, I know there's been other videos done on this specific thing, and I haven't kept up on it. We are just here to show you the odds and ends and the interesting, bizarre things that are in the redacted court documents that came out, things that we found interesting. So if you've seen this before, you probably know a lot more information. We do. We just thought this was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and were there any witnesses to this?
Yeah, and if it's when it was done, etc. So I'm sure you guys know a lot more than we do. That our point was not to deep dive in this specific aspect of it, but to comb through all the documentation. And I know this one's been on the news a lot when it first came out too. There's another gentleman, Trent, that basically said he met Chris Watts online in 2017. It was a positive that was Chris Watts because of the recent media attention, and he basically had like this gay affair with Chris Watts, and that's come up a few times. And again, our thing today is not to get into the deep dive of this, whether it's true or not. Again, there's a lot of shows and coverage on this.
Yes.
But this is just an interesting thing because that kind of came out of left field, right? We know that he was with NK, the focus of NK. Now we're hearing for these two other people, and, is it the 15 minutes of fame type of thing? So it's really odd because the reason why we pulled this out is because we didn't expect to see something like this. Another thing that we found was, while Chris was in the Carolinas with his family, he was going back and forth and would send these pictures, Chirac, and these the secret photo app where he kept all the images of Kessinger. She would send him nude stuff and all these things, and he kept it so his wife wouldn't see. But it's interesting. See, now you're knocking your mic today. It was interesting that he sent her this necklace. I guess he must have been out shopping, and I guess he was the cat. He was thinking that I guess I don't know if he bought this for her or was going to buy her this necklace, but I thought this was interesting. I didn't see this before in a bunch of other shows that we've seen about this case. I just haven't seen this photo. Maybe somebody's shown it before, but I just thought it was really interesting that he would be showing this, like, oh, look, do you like this, or I'm going to get this for you. And I just put in here, people already know this already, but it says Watts transfer images of Kessinger into his calculator application. That's on August 3rd, 2018. August 4th, the next day.
Mhm.
That's when Kessinger spent 2 hours. That's a long time. Think about it, guys, 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah. Wedding looking for wedding
Google wedding
dress.
dresses. I know this is people are aware of this, but just think of it.
He's
The
not even
time
divorced
frame.
yet.
Yeah, yeah. This is in Carolina, and I mean, you're spending 2 hours. I guess she must be feeling all his emotions. He's away, all this stuff, and I don't know. 2 hours is a very long time. That's some
Well, the
serious
question
stuff.
is, was she looking for a wedding dress for her, or was someone else getting married?
No, come on, you're so funny.
You
You're
gotta be
just
devil's advocate
yeah.
sometime.
I know. It's insane. So, are you ready to talk about Chris's underwear stuff?
Oh, definitely.
All right, let's talk about this. And somebody might know this, but we gotta bring this up. This is funny. So I pulled this up, and it looks like at some point
Mhm.
somebody went on Craigslist or whatever and put up. Yeah, I think it was
Yes.
Craigslist.
Yep, it was.
Chris Watts semen
Stain
stained boxers,
boxers.
and
$500, guys.
$500.
Dollars.
And some people say, "Oh wow, I could maybe some women think that they could extract the DNA from there and get pregnant." I don't know. These are legitimate. I have pictures to
Yes.
prove it. Serious offers only. Now, I didn't dig into this. I know this would probably be a good one. I did a little digging. I couldn't find more on this as to what came out of this. I assume it's just a scam.
Mm-hmm.
Legitimate pictures to prove it. Like, that's disgusting. But this is just bizarre.
Yeah.
First of all, it's bizarre. It's in the documents. I kind of understand why, but these pictures of Craigslist ad downloaded into department approved digital storage system. Quantity 3. Okay. So this is just weird. I don't know whatever happened to this. I'm assuming they probably got a hold. I think there's some more information on this but this is just bizarre. Somebody's just how are you gonna get the underwear from the prison? And I don't know. The whole thing is just, or maybe do you get it? Was it from Kessinger? It was Kessinger going on there selling his underwear. I don't know.
Could be.
Again, we're just
We
bringing
don't
up
even know who this
bizarre
came
things.
from.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't go too deep. Again, just combing through all these documents at a high level. But I just thought this was really bizarre. As I'm going, and there's almost 2,000 pages. So you're going through and you're running this, you're like, huh?
Yeah, there's some strange
Oh my
things
God.
that.
And speaking of NK, so now let's look at the NK's phone. So there was documents. They used 3 of the iPhones or 3 of the phones that they found, and then label it. Okay, this is Shanann's phone. This is in the court documents or the documents that are redacted, and they would have what do you call it? Shanann's phone, Chris's phone, and NK's phone. And what I highlighted here is, people are aware that she Googled, can cops trace text messages on a Google search? But what I really want to point out here, and people have kind of mentioned, but not really mentioned it, is that how long she Googled this for. Like, it wasn't just a quick, 1 minute Google.
Mm-hmm.
She started at 5, it looks like 5 p.m. And looks like she got done about 5:26. So she spent a good half an hour. Now think about it. I always do these time frames because when people just say it, you don't really register it. That's why I'm purposely taking time to say, think about it. For a good about a half an hour, so it's 26 minutes was like 5:26 was the last text or last search. But of course, you're thinking and doing things and reading. So about half an hour. A half an hour of doing, can cops trace the messages? How long they keep the messages? How long, what else is there? How long? The difference between a text message content and text message detail. Text message. Let's see what else is here. Text message, text detail. Can you get printouts of text messages?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Difference between
she
text
was really
messages.
getting into nitty gritty. So there must be some aspect of the text message she was concerned about.
But did they ask when she was actually in an investigation room questions about
I
this?
don't remember.
Like, why was the reason of her?
Well, deleting the information, yeah. But as far as Googling this, I don't remember that, to be honest with you. I have to go, now I have to go. You bring up great questions. Do you remember seeing it in there? I don't remember seeing it, meaning this specific. Why were you Googling
No,
why cops
I didn't
would
see
delete
anything.
text messages?
I know a lot of people are
Now I have
definitely
to go look that up.
100%
That's driving me
familiar
nuts.
with the. I haven't seen anything, especially unless they only
Oh.
investigated her like once, right, with the dad.
Twice. But if you guys can and there was questions they were going back and forth. If you guys know that, please put it in our comments. I don't remember from the interviews now. And it's funny, I got to convert the documents over into something more searchable. I don't remember them asking them specific questions like,
I didn't see that
why
as
did
well.
you Google this specifically? Not like, why did you delete it stuff? Because she says, oh, he was yuck. And, I'm talking this specific search. By half an hour, that's pretty substantial. And in terms of her searching Shanann, in the document, it said several searches for Chris Watts can be found prior to 8/12/18. That's no surprise. People know that. The entries appear to be deleted. I searched for numbers and found no results. Okay. I did locate searches for Chris Watts that dated back to 8/3/17 and Shanann Watts dating back to January 7th, 2018. Okay, so that's what 7, 8 months before this happened. I supposedly started a relationship. The dates vary. Everybody says this, that, or anything. But that's pretty early. July 7th. And I know there's other questions in terms of when she supposedly searched for Shanann. I just want to mention what's in the document and what's in this related NK. In that same section that showed her Googling how long cops keep the text messages. I just want to show like what it says in regards to the searches for Shanann Watts. Okay, so far, if you've seen everything, let's get into this. Okay, I thought it was interesting that in the redacted documents, Chirac, they have health data. Now, this is for Chris's phone. Okay. Now, this is August 13th, 12th to 13th. So that's the night
12th.
alleged of the murder. So you could see it's hard to read because it's in dark gray. In fact, let me take the time to switch over, guys, and show you the bigger display. So you can see what I have highlighted below, not the walking or running distance on top, but with the square on the bottom here. Somewhere between 3:30 and like a little after 6, which is wait, what did he get to the? Yeah, that's I think that's about right. I have to go back and look now. There's a lot of steps, you know. If you look at the first part around 3:30 to like it's hard to tell. Maybe it's like 4:30, 5 o'clock. There's a lot of steps. Remember, he's going back and forth to his truck. He was, moving a lot of things. He was doing a lot of disposing. So that makes a lot of sense. And then we got to survey 319. There was a lot of walking, obviously, too. We know why, like the digging and moving the bodies to the oil tanks and all that. But I never seen the data like this, in terms of seeing the actual steps. To me, it's kind of creepy in a way because you could see the activity, how much he was doing. Does that make sense? Especially what times of the morning. So this is just a different way of looking at the data. So hopefully that's new to people if you haven't dug into the documents and you've seen that. But yep, that's something new that I wanted to share. And this might be something too that people know or maybe don't know, and hopefully I got this correct. But my understanding is that these are the last known photos of each of them. Okay, based on the court documentation. So on top, August 12th, 2018, 12/17, perhaps the last image of Shanann taken alive. Metadata confirmed the date and time. And then Watts resent the images from earlier in the day at the dinner table. He had this image taken later the day at the birthday party, the last known photograph of Bella in life. And I believe on the left is the same time. Another time was taken of Celeste. So I believe, you guys have maybe seen these photos before, but just putting it all together that most likely these are the last photos, that really brings it home, so just want to share that as well. And lastly, let's get to the question we asked before.
Yes.
The morning the Chris Watt family disappeared, at Survey 319, who was the last employee to show up? Was it Melissa, Chad, or Troy? And I consider this like a medium complexity because if you're new to the case or don't know that much about, just high level, this may be a little like, I don't know that much about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're an expert or you've really been watching a lot of these channels, you would probably know this. So I'd put it as medium complexity. So the answer is it's Troy. So Melissa and Chad arrived pretty close together.
6 days.
And then again, the time frames, depending on what you read, and even they don't really know, somewhere between 8 and 8:30, 8:25. So 8:24 seems to be pretty close. It's very hard to nail down the very specific time. But Troy definitely showed up afterwards. He was around 8:51. So Troy was the last one to arrive.
Right.
So with that, I want to say, guys, thank you for playing. I think we're gonna continue to do those questions.
Yeah, I want to know what you think.
Yeah,
Those
let us
questions,
know.
just those out there that definitely know this
I
case.
think it's kind of fun. We can learn and test these other knowledge and test your knowledge and see how much you know. So, but Shrock, before we wrap it up, is there anything that you want to share that you've seen in the documents and the letters and all that? That kind of, I think you already did, but is there
Yes,
anything else?
I did mention it. I was definitely reading the documents. They definitely seem like people don't have time to do anything else. It's like, don't you have time? This looked like it took you like what, all day to write.
Shrock, I'm gonna write him every day. Chris, I'm writing you every day until you get back to
Until
me.
you get back to me, like you don't have anything else better to do. It's just like I want to know, what do they get out of these letters? I understand some of them are. I know this one was definitely was incarcerated. Of course, she maybe have more free time on her hands, but with today's world with so much going on, it's just
Yeah.
that she's spending a lot of time writing.
Well, like I said, some people, they were pouring their heart out to Chris. Like they started off with like, hey, how you doing? I see how you feel. And then like little talk, and they would talk about themselves, about some situations going on in their life. And it's like, you're really gonna go to Chris for your like, therapist session? It's just weird. But anyhow, and I didn't get to go all of them. Obviously, there's a bunch of lovey-dovey, and there's
Oh yeah,
people who
one
are
of I wanted to point
pretending.
out. One is like, I wrote you 4 times and I haven't heard from you. Like, oh my goodness, I don't think he's never gonna write you, so you need to stop writing.
Yeah, and that's
Oh,
the
and
thing.
someone asked for him to be the pen pal. He's like, oh, can you be my pen
Yeah, will
pal?
you be my pen pal? And then some are trying to be slick, like, oh, I don't want to talk about, what happened. I just want to be your friend. You don't have to write. But meanwhile, you could tell the desperation that they really want them, and let's face it, a lot of times too, it's because these people want to, look, one person got a book deal out of it. They
Exactly.
reach out to Chris,
Imagine
and
if
that's
I
what
write him and
happens.
he writes me back. I am definitely gonna be like, look, he wrote me back, and then I guess I'll be on some
Exactly.
type of show.
Exactly. But anyhow, thank you guys so
Thank you
much
so
for
much
hanging
for
in there.
watching.
Hopefully there was one thing you found interesting. I mean,
Let
because I
us
know we have a
know.
lot of hardcore people in this Chris Watts, but that's not all we cover. And for those who are interested in Watts' case, I always say this, but I'll say it again.
Yeah.
We're not just a Chris Watts,
Exactly.
show. We cover. Actually, we're going to be covering a lot more cases coming up, like the Doomsday Couple and other things.
Awesome.
We're just gearing up. Still a new show starting in January, but yes, we cover a lot of Chris Watts because a lot of interesting stuff there. But we cover a lot more.
Yes.
And if you like that, there's a lot of parallels. And if you're really into that case, there's a lot of thoughts and things on that one that applies to other cases. So definitely take some time and check out those other episodes and those other cases that we cover.
Yeah.
And with that, we want to thank you so much. And until next time, we'll see you with more good stuff.
Thank you so much. Studio 70.